Okay, so I promised I would make a video about basically showing you guys an API sniff of a food ordering app that I was working for as a driver on. I was working actually as a bicyclist delivering food for this app, and over the course of like a year I made several thousand sniffs of its API, mainly so I can make an automation, which I did, to grab the shifts and to also find out the tipping value before agreeing to do the order. Once I saw that the two APIs were essentially connected, or the two apps were essentially connected in terms of the shift booking and the actual working, I was like, oh my goodness, I could see the tipping value. So I made an automation to tell me what the tipping value was prior to acceptance, because obviously when it served me on the app side, when it served me the order, it wouldn't show me the tipping value. In fact, that tipping value was hidden until after I completed the order. So I wanted to ensure that I was doing prime orders, I guess you would say, and never getting served with an order that didn't tip. But anyways, I will show you how what I'm going to show you is basically going to give you a little bit of insight in terms of how deferred dispatching works, sending the order from the restaurant to the courier, and like how it basically the orders sit in a buffer and that constantly changes. So I'm going to show you one example of that, where you're going to see like two different orders that are based on my position or different positioning. And yeah, so the orders were sitting in a buffer, and it would pick the best primed order of that buffer to serve me with. So these were undispatched orders, I guess you would say. So I'm going to go into this app here. It is HTTPCatcher. This is the one that I was using to sniff the API in order to, make my automations and figure out my things that I wanted to do, right? So I'm going to go over here, and I think I have it. I gotta take a minute here to find it. It's number 13, I know that. There it is. And I'm gonna view the JSON. So this would obviously give you a little bit of insight in terms of how the dispatching works. Now, granted, like I said, I'm probably I made that comment on that Flutter video. I'm like, yeah, I'm not quite sure how I would code this up. But at the same point in time, this kind of gives me a little bit of insight because I've worked as a driver before for one of these companies, and I made automations to handle this type of stuff. So you'll see here the route, and then you'll see delivery ID, and this is obviously a pickup. That's pickup number 0, or I guess, the first one in the index. Or the first one, right? And this one's obviously 2, but it's not really, it'll say 1, right? Okay, and then this other one here, there's this one here, pickup, right? And then it'll just say pickup, drop off, right? So that's how it goes. And then it's like you'll see those orders within the delivery queue, or deliveries queue. So basically, when I made my automation, I was just using dot notation, I guess you'd say, in order to access, the item for online tip. And I was looking at the online tip for the order. But this one here wasn't the order that was served to me. I think it was this one. If I clearly remember doing this order here. And it was the second one on the ID here. And I was like, oh shit, I'm not going to do a $0 order. So I canceled that one. Yeah, so it's obviously dependent on your positioning in terms of what order they're going to serve you first. But you'll see like the deliveries sit in a queue. Usually this at this point in time, I think they only had 2 in this queue, but sometimes I've seen up to like 5 sitting in the buffer. You'll see that link that I gave in the one video in the comment section of that guy's Flutter application for food ordering, where I talked about how I gave a link to that video that talks about ODL Live and the deferred dispatching, and it says that the courier is unaware of this process of the process of the orders being held in the batch or the queue until it's ready for dispatch, or they're 5 minutes away from dispatch or whatever, right? Unfortunately, in my case, I'm not your average courier, so I was a little bit more privy to this knowledge, and I knew about the queue, so I knew about how the orders were being dynamically dispatched. But yeah, again, I'm not your average courier, and I know a little bit more than I kind of give off sometimes. So yeah, I made a lot of automations that were like, to find the online tip, and to basically book the shifts, because the shift booking was really competitive with this app. Like I'm telling you, the shifts were dropped at like 11 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, or 10 a.m. depending on what batch you were in. And they were gone within like 2 minutes, because people would be just sitting there refreshing, hoping to get a shift, right? So I wanted to make a automation that would essentially put all the orders into like a dictionary, and then iterate over that dictionary, and iterate over the items in that dictionary, and just so basically it would just book me all the shifts that it possibly could. And it was really successful. Like I was able to get shifts within 10 seconds and do it all from my phone. So yeah. Anyways, that's that. And I hope this gives you a little bit of insight as to how deferred dispatching works, and how the items sit in a queue, and they're sent out to the courier within, a few minutes of them doing their drop off at the other location. But yeah, have a good night.